McCluskey, tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What have you done to him?
I didn't do anything to him. He fainted.
Yeah, but you made him faint.
Yes, but it's not like I set my phaser to faint.
You've got a phaser?
Hello and welcome back to this week's DVD and Blu-ray section of the Monday Movie Show. Coming up in this section we have the UK DVD and Blu-ray Top 10 and reviews of.
We have a huge cacophony, nice word there, of films to review. They are Detention, The Lucky One, Wrong Turn 4, One in the Chamber, Starship Troopers Invasion, Let the Bullets Fly, Outpost 2, Truth or Dare, and the DVD alternative is Jarhead.
If you are listening to us live on Spreaker, then do feel free to come and join us in the chat on the website. You just need to click the little bottom right hand corner. You'll see there's a little icon there which should now be flashing red because we have typed in it as well. So without further ado, let's get straight into the DVD and Blu-ray Top 10.
Yep, at number 10, Headhunters.
Yeah, the Norwegian thriller, which is one of the best films of the year for me. A great thriller about a headhunter who goes out to hire people, find them for a job, who then finds he is essentially being hunted for a particular reason. I won't say what because it will spoil it, but it's one of the few films that I have not seen certain twists coming and I enjoyed thoroughly.
Yeah, and I said I was going to view it for this week's show, but as you can see from the lineup, I haven't had the chance to, and I'm definitely going to see it before the end of the year because it's on my list, that and Shame. At number 9, it just doesn't want to seem to relieve the top 10. The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Yeah, it's only dropped down a couple of places from number 7 last week. It is a film that you can watch with any relative in your family. It's a really good drama, especially for aged family members. It's about a group of old age pensioners who end up going over to India on essentially a journey of self-discovery when they're invited over to this hotel. They get there and find it's not quite what it is, but then what it's made out to be. But it makes it more of an interesting journey for them and for the viewer. It's a really good Oscar-worthy film.
Yeah, number 8, So You Want to Be a Pirate.
This is the spin-off Tesco, I think, exclusive actually for the Pirates and an Adventure with Scientists. It's one of these things, for £5 at the checkout. It's a 20-minute or so animation. We've not seen it, probably won't see it. If you're into Adventure with Pirates, then you'll probably end up buying it for your kids.
Yeah, at number 7, a re-entry for Despicable Me.
Which I'm surprised to see, but I'm not disappointed because I really love Despicable Me, in no small part thanks to the Minions, which are just hilarious and steal the show. It's a fun animation, it's well animated, it's a decent story, and adults I think will love it as much as the kids will.
Yeah, and you're going to have to get used to the Minions because you're going to see them twice next year, one in their own film and one in the sequel to Despicable Me.
Yippee!
Yeah. Yippee! At number 6,
oh my
War
god,
Horse.
How did you... I can't believe you did that high. I can't believe you did that high. You're on a helium balloon or something there.
Nope.
War Horse is the... I keep saying this, but it's the only way to really truthfully describe it. It's Steven Spielberg doing what he does best and blending his two styles. The style of the world is seen through the eyes of innocence, in this case through the eyes of the horse, and set during World War One. It's World War One, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
I'm trying to think now, actually, which it is. It's been a while since I saw it, but it's showing the true horror of war and mixing and blending the two of them successfully. Just unfortunately, it takes a little bit of a long while to get where it's getting to, and it does feel essentially like it's 3 or 4 stories that are sort of tied together.
Actually, it feels like 6 stories. That one thing we always keep forgetting is the score of the film is really epic. You would probably expect it to be. It's a really good score.
The great John Williams doing his best work again. He's a fantastic composer, and this is one of his best in latter days.
Yeah, we always keep forgetting to mention the score. At number 5, a new entry from Marley.
Yeah, I was surprised how much I kind of did enjoy it, but also surprised by how much I didn't. It's again, I have to compare it because any documentary now is going to get compared to that great documentary on Ayrton Senna, and unfortunately, this isn't as good. But I suspect that anyone who's into Bob Marley and into reggae music will get more from it than I did.
Yeah, at number 4, The Expendables.
In here, for the obvious reason that The Expendables 2 has been released in the cinema. I don't have a massive problem with the film. It has problems. It definitely has problems. It's a stupid laugh back at the 80s action film with all the 80s testosterone fueled stars, minus a few who are now in the second one. And it's got Jason Statham in it. Need I say more than that? You know what to expect then.
And the fact that it's dumb. At number 3, a new entry for the Vampire Diaries Series 3.
I've not seen any of this series at all. I've just not been interested in it because I've seen part of one episode, and that was when I decided don't want to see it. But evidently, it has a following.
Yeah, I've never seen it. This and True Blood. I'm surprised with something like
True Blood. True Blood, on the other hand, very good show.
Yeah, I'm surprised with True Blood because it's this kind of thing that I do actually quite like. I like things like vampires, etc., not like Twilight, and I've just never seen an episode of that.
I think this is from what I saw of it. It was kind of like True Blood on emo overdose.
So it's halfway between Twilight and True Blood.
It's halfway between Twilight and Smallville.
Pass. Number 2, new entry for Lockout.
Which is a fun movie. It's not a brilliant big film, but it tries to be bigger than it is. It's a small French made film because it's a Luc Besson produced film. I think he paid for it and everything. It's not. I think its production is around about 20 to 30 million, which is not a lot for a science fiction film of this kind of caliber. It struggles at a certain part. There are some horrendously bad special effects sequences in it, but I had fun with it, and I actually liked the character that was played by Guy Pearce in it. I hope to see more of his character in future films. Whether or not we will, I don't know.
Yeah, I really, if that's the case, please turn back the sarcasm. I know, Andy, you liked it, but I didn't. You're right with the budget, 20 million. It only made 25 million.
Yeah, so it didn't need to make a lot. It didn't need to make a lot, and it's gone to number 2 in the UK in DVD. I mean, it's maybe going to be better. It may be going to be at number 1 or maybe do 3. But that a number 2 film on its opening release on DVD is going to make quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and finally at number 1, Battleship.
It's big, it's loud, it's dumb, it's fun, but you need to have no brain to really enjoy it. I'm not saying it's bad. I didn't think it's really bad, but I don't think it's especially brilliant. But I enjoyed it. Dumb, fun.
It's about as fun as running into a pit full of glass.
Cheese filled. You might have a heart attack from watching it because it's full of cheese. But I didn't mind it. I didn't have as much of a problem as you did. But I think that might be because I saw it on the big screen with the big speakers and everything. If I saw it again now, maybe I'll find my opinion differs.
If you would have a heart attack because it's cheese filled, I would be dead. Considering that I'm allergic to cheese, and so one touch of this, I'm surprised I'm not dead.
Okay, let's go for a break. We're just going to have a break for the Holocaust, after which we'll get straight into our first review.
Kids, there's nothing more cool than listening to a podcast you like. But if someone podcasts in a place or in a way that you'll find unfunny, that's no good. So what do? First, you say, lol no. Second, you tell them to GTFO. Third, you get some Holocaust in your luggles. And most importantly, you have to tell someone. Like your parents, your teacher, or a police officer. We are the Holocaust. 9 o'clock, Wednesday nights, lolocaust.co.uk. We don't clash with The Apprentice anymore.
Okay, let's go straight into our reviews. We've got 8 films to get through before our alternative, so let's go.
Yeah, the first one is Detention. Now, I'm not going to describe the storyline that much, considering that it's got a simple but complex storyline that gives way too much away of the film. All I'll say here is that the film has been in sort of like development hell. It's been languishing on the shelf for quite a while. It was shown at lots of festivals in late 2010, and then it was shown at a few American festivals in 2011. Nobody wanted to pick it up. It's directed by Joseph Kahn, who did the film Talk. So that's probably the reason why it might not want to be picked up. It's got Josh Hutcherson in it and Dane Cook as well. Now, Dane Cook, that'll put you off majorly. Josh Hutcherson, he was in The Hunger Games. And the film itself is a homage to these teen slasher movies. It's a comedy horror about a serial killer called Cinderella and a group of kids who, at this school, they get put in detention and they have to try and survive against this Cinderella character. Now, I've got a clip for it which might explain a little bit more than what I've just done there without giving too much away.
Well, I am starting my own music site. It's going to list new releases and review albums from bands that nobody's heard of except for me, and if they have, I'll just dismiss them with scathing comparisons to avant-garde folk rockers. Everything's graded on an ultra-precise 100-point scale and no place for feedback.
Excellent.
If readers want to bitch about, they'll have to go on their Twitters. Good taste is not a democracy.
And this pays, what, $13.5 a year?
Free Costello tickets.
Do you think that I am teaching students out of love? I'm not.
So that's one of the clips in the film where obviously you can hear the principal, which is played by Dane Cook, speaking to the pupil Josh Hutcherson, who's sort of like the dreamboat in a way at school. He rides around on the skateboard, he doesn't care what he does, and like I said, they get put into this group of kids, get put in detention, and they have to try and survive against this serial killer called Cinderella, who's in a movie also in the film, and a sequel that's in the film of the film, so you've got a meta film. During the movie, there is just absolute insanity. There's a bear in the film that's the mascot of the school. You find out about the backstory of this bear. This bear was an alien on this alien planet, which was kidnapped by these aliens and brought down to Earth to be planted on this planet. Then he's used as time travel, as the bear actually opens up as a time machine to go back in time to try and stop this woman who's come forward in time, who's mixed her minds up with her daughter, and they need to try and stop her doing that back in the 1980s. There is, like I said, you've got the serial killer Cinderella who roams around through the halls as well, and there is aliens also involved in it. There's just explosions, there is gore in it, there is silly deaths in it, there is a few comic lines in it, and the movie is completely balmy. It is nuts. It's really insane, but it's fun. It knows where its line is, and it crosses that line so badly that it's not even adult anymore, but it still just goes with its absurdity. The fact that it knows that it's not a serious film at all. It knows that it's an absolutely insane movie because there is constant inner monologues running through the film as well. Even at the start of the film, there's sort of like the bitch of the movie. There's an inner monologue of her describing how much of an evil person she is and how much she doesn't care about pushing people in front of buses and stuff. She doesn't care about doing that. And if you take the movie with just completely mind-numbing fun, with some humorous bits here and there and some gore, then you will enjoy the film at all. If you think that this is a serious film, avoid it like the plague. But just watch it because it will pass 90 minutes away. And it is one of the most unique comedy horror films that I've seen in quite a while.
It sounds like a kind of a horror twist on Dude, Where's My Car?
Sort of, yeah. Replace the continuum transfunctioner with a time-travelling bear. Time-travelling alien bear.
Yeah, maybe they should have done it as a sequel to that.
Babies?
I'm going to move on to The Lucky One. It's directed by Scott Hicks and it stars Zac Efron as Logan, who is a Marine. At the start of the film, we see him in Iraq. He's on his third tour, during which, when he's on patrol with a group of his squad and another squad all meet up, and he's walking along, and he sees something reflect a light to him nearby. So he sort of wanders over, looks to see what it is, picks it up. It's a photo. It's been laminated, so it's still there and it's not in pieces or anything. But as he picks it up, where he was standing previously is hit with a mortar round, and his squad is killed. Several other Marines are killed. He's injured by the concussion, wakes up in a hospital, and then is shipped back home, where he's then on leave and suffering problems of kind of a post-traumatic situation, post-traumatic stress disorder. He's staying with his sister and her family, and finding it really difficult to do so, decides then he's going to go, and his dog, it's a weird thing to say, but his dog, which is part of the story, has been living with them. He decides he's going to go and try and find this picture, is a picture of a woman, and essentially wants to try and find her, say thank you because she saved his life. So he goes on the road and tries to find where she is from a few clues that he picks up along the way, until he finally gets to a place where there is a kennels that trains and looks after dogs, where this woman is actually in charge of and runs the place. Here's a clip.
Zeus is way too well behaved to need training, so I'm guessing that you're here to board him?
No, I'm not going anywhere. I just got off the road yesterday.
Where from?
Colorado.
And what brings you to Hamden?
It's kind of a long story. Actually, I don't really know where to begin.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. That's absolutely none of my business. What can I do for you, Logan?
I'm really here because I came to see you. You see, I found this. It was just...
Oh, you saw the ad. Of course. Okay, so the job doesn't pay much. Mostly you'll just be walking, feeding, cleaning cages. It's 6 days a week. Zeus is welcome anytime. And help, Logan, that's the job. We just need some help.
So he then ends up taking the job and being there, while at the same time having this weird sort of romantic situation building between him and the woman Beth, who's played by Taylor Schilling. And all the same time, all the while, there's this ongoing issue of that she has a son with a man who is they're no longer together, but he's the sheriff of the town, and sort of he has issues with Efron's character being there. It's the thing with it is it's a romantic drama. It starts out not seeming like that because you do see the whole thing of the issues in Iraq and a sort of gunfighting scene there. It is based on a novel by Nicholas Sparks. I'm not sure if it's called the same title or not, of the novel, but it is. The thing with it is it starts off really well and gets to that point. Then, as you heard in that clip, it's like a situation of circumstance, of coincidence. Things happen that then make it so that it should be a simple case of here's a picture of you, and then that will all of a sudden open up all these questions of, how do you have this picture? Where did it come from? Instead of just doing that, the whole film becomes a thing of the things ongoing and stretched out, and it just, after a while, you're just like, just give her the picture. It's one of these things that's really annoying about when a film stretches out something to make up the running time, which is what this feels like it's doing. It's not even especially long for film. It's not 2 hours. It's an hour and 40 odd minutes, or even just an hour and 40 minutes, I think. So with the credits, you're looking at just over an hour and a half. And the thing is that there are really good performances in it. Zac Efron is great in this film. He's a great actor in this. He's one of those ones that I will keep an eye out for, because I've not been a fan of his on a lot of things now, but I am coming around to seeing him as a really good actor. I'd like to see him take on some of the roles that have been going to, like Leonardo DiCaprio. That'd be good. Like, I mean, I haven't seen. We haven't seen this yet, but I could quite easily see him playing Shia LaBeouf's part in Lawless and possibly being a better film than what it is. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say what that's like. But he's that kind of an actor that he is really turning into a great actor. He's got a great confidence, a screen confidence to him. There's great performances in this film as well. Taylor Schilling's in there. You've got Blythe Danner, who plays her grandmother. Even the kids, and kids are annoying in films, difficult to get. The kid who plays Blythe Danner's son is great in the film. He's really good, and he's got these conflicts of confidence himself, which is really well done in the film. It's just it stretches out things unnecessarily when there's several points at this. A scene there before that clip has where he goes up to her and he introduces himself and he's going to tell her, and she gets interrupted by a phone call on a mobile phone. Now, it may seem like, because that's the first time anything like that happens, but that's the kind of things that happen all the way through the film. Something always interrupts and derails what should be a 10-minute film, just to stretch it out for the hour and 40-minute running time. That is really my only main niggle with it. Apart from that, towards the end it does get a bit predictable because there's this thing set up, there's a problem and something bad's going to happen and they have to go and fix it, and that's your typical kind of thing of the way these stories go. But as romantic dramas go, it is really a good, decent one up there among the better ones.
Right, on to the next film, Wrong Turn 4. It's the fourth in the series, but it's a prequel. It's directed by Declan O'Brien, so I have problems with prequels. If you've seen a storyline of a movie run through at least 2 or 3 films, and they release a prequel, you know what the hell's going to happen. I don't know why American studios think that prequels are a good idea. Sometimes they might work if they just lead up to a decent storyline, but prequels in my eyes just do not work because they give away too much. You know what's going to happen at the end of it.
We haven't had a Scream one yet, have we?
We haven't, but I don't see the point of a Scream one because you find out everything what happened beforehand in the first Scream film anyway. What happened to Sidney's mother and father, etc. And so this it's a prequel. It centres around a group of kids, usual setup, on a snowboarding trip. They're on snow skis. They decide to go out and just have some fun on these snow skis. There is no discernible actors in this movie that you know anyway, so they're enjoying their time on these snow skis. One of them has an accident, and a storm's coming in also, so they can't head back to where they've just come from. They end off seeing an abandoned insane asylum. So you can probably guess they go into this abandoned insane asylum to weather out the storm so this person can relax after having this accident. And the people, Five Toes, in the first Wrong Turn film, that's the only one who you'll recognise from any of the Wrong Turn films. He's there with a few degenerate relations, let's just say, and these kids have to survive not only the night against these mutants, but also against the snowstorm happening outside, and you can probably guess where it's going from. Yeah, it's not a very good film at all. It's better than the third one, Wrong Turn 3 Left for Dead, because that film is just awful. It has nothing good about it whatsoever, Wrong Turn 3. Wrong Turn 2, it has its problems, but it's not too bad. This one, it doesn't feel like the first film. The first film was really good. This one is it's got problems with script, it's got problems with acting, it's got problems just with everything it has problems with. The setting is, for an insane asylum, it's not too scary. You want tension if you're in an insane asylum. You want darkness, you want broodiness. You want to feel like if there is this cannibalistic family inside this insane asylum, that they use this insane asylum as their home, then you want to think that there is some kind of brooding terror in there somewhere. And there isn't. The kids die the way you would probably expect it, and like I said, would have been a prequel, it does lead up to the first film, so if you've seen Wrong Turn, the first one, and then you watch this, you know exactly what's going to happen at the end of it. It's a film that just should not have been made. There is a fifth one getting shot right now in Canada, and I know it follows on, I think if I remember correctly, from the second film. So I hold slightly more hopes for the fifth one because it wants to go back to its roots of the first and second film, have a big cannibalistic family and be completely gory. That's the way the Wrong Turn series should be. This one is just a misstep and should not be watched, even if you're a fan of the series.
Okay, so I'll do One in the Chamber next, which is a film by now. I'm not sure the name familiar to me. William Kaufman. Does that name seem familiar to you?
William Kaufman.
Kaufman. For me, for some reason, yeah, it rings a bell with me as well. I don't know why, but he's directed this film. It stars Cuba Gooding Jr. as a mercenary who is hired by a sort of a member of sort of a Russian mob family to take out the competition. At the same time, the other team, the other side, have hired their own hitman, played by Dolph Lundgren, who has then been sent on a mission to take out the other team, and it's sort of the two sides of a Russian mob family fighting against each other, while at the same time these two assassins then going after each other at the same time. There's not a lot of a story to it. It's really more the two of them and focusing on action sequences, which is where the film's strength really lies. It's not a brilliant film, but it's a competently directed action film. There are some genuinely watchable action scenes in there, and there's really good composition of scenes. I mean, there's a sequence where Cuba Gooding Jr. is using a sniper rifle and picking off a bunch of a mob family in a room, and it's set up between him and them, and it's shot really well. You have the angles, the different way it looks, and it's all really well covered and really well put together. It's nicely edited. There's other action sequences that come later in the film. There's some really bad, corny, just laudable dialogue in the film that's just, at points, I really want to cringe. Don't watch it for the dialogue. Dolph Lundgren, especially, and it gives... I honestly don't know what kind of accent he's trying to do during the film, but it doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard before. And Cuba Gooding Jr. does his normal kind of B-movie acting that he does, where he's just sort of walking around most of the time wearing sunglasses or looking kind of like bored, half asleep. Maybe he's like on a downer or something at the moment. But if you're going to see this, because it is straight-to-video tosh, which is what it is, it's not pretending to be anything else. It's a decent action, but if you're looking for something more than that, then find something else. This won't satisfy. If you're going to watch a B-movie action movie, then you might enjoy this.
Right, next film, Starship Troopers Invasion. It's the fourth Starship Troopers film, but the first one which is animated. This has sort of got very loose ties in with the Starship Troopers sort of like series. It has a few of the characters in it. Rico is in it, and Carl from the first one is in it. So Rico was originally played by Casper Van Dien in the first and third film, and so this one is an animated film. It's directed, I don't know the director's name because I didn't write it down. I know it's a Japanese director. It's a Japanese animation studio that did this film. It's set on a distant outpost called, the opening of the film anyway, is set on an outpost called Fort Casey, which is this huge, massive experimental outpost base, which is used to experiment on the bugs from the original three films, especially the brain bug from the first film. An outbreak's happened on this station. A group of Marines from a ship called the Alicia is sent in to try and sort of like help the people on this station. The station is fully under attack from these bugs. The only way they can get off this station is to blow it up. On this station is Carl, who was a scientist in the first film, played by... I forgot his name.
I think it's Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris, yes, it was played by Neil Patrick Harris in the first film. Yeah, so you'll know Carl from that. He was like the brainiest out of the three. He's managed to get off this station. Another ship has gone completely missing, the John A1, which is a very important ship. And so Rico, who is now really high up in the ranks, has told the Alicia, the crew, to go and hunt down this ship because this ship is very important. Now, the thing with this is the animation is done really well. At the start of the film, it seems a bit boggy a little bit, the animation, very simple, but the more the movie goes on and the more it adds explosions and the more you start seeing the bugs, the more the animation actually gets better. The bugs look fantastic. They look like the bugs from the first film. Now, the first film was done quite a while ago. I'm guessing it was somewhere like 98, wasn't it? In that region?
I think it was something like that. Just incidentally, the director, the name I've got here is Shinji Aramaki.
Thank you. I'm glad that you can actually... You said that and I didn't write it down.
Yeah,
well,
Japanese I can announce, but European I'm completely screwed on.
Well, we're a good opposite there then, because I'm really good with both sometimes. Well, like I said, the animation is really handled really well. The more the film goes on and the more it introduces explosions and stuff. The storyline is pretty predictable and the whole film itself is pretty predictable. But as a Starship Troopers film, this is the second best in the series. It's miles better, million times better than Heroes of the Federation, which is the second film, which is god-awful. And the third film, Marauder, was a step up. But Marauder is still not that good. This one, it slots in as the second best Starship Troopers movie. It's got nudity in it. A lot of nudity in it. That's the problem with the first 25 minutes of the film. Concentrates on too much of sex and nudity. The last part of the film is where the action builds up. But as a Starship Troopers movie, it's worth watching if you're a fan of the series. It's actually pretty decent.
Okay, Let the Bullets Fly. Or the original title, which is, now this is where I'm going to struggle again, Rang Zidan Fei. I think that's it. It's a Chinese film which stars, among other people, Chow Yun-fat as a kind of a. This is really difficult to try and explain it.
Sounds like you're having difficulties.
I am. He's a kind of a. Kind of almost like a warlord who runs a town, but not really a warlord. He's more of a I can't think of the right words.
He's having struggles tonight, isn't he?
I am today, yeah. He's kind of like a political sort of run of a political. I don't know. He runs this little town anyway. It's a film that's set in China in the 1920s, and it's about. Well, that's the thing. It's difficult to explain because I had difficulty following it. It's a weird film that it's about kind of like these bandits who kidnap a mayor and get him to pretend to be another mayor so he can then get into this town and steal the town's money for them. And it's kind of like the only thing I can think of to describe it when I was watching it is that I was watching it. It's in Chinese. It's all subtitled, and it's all shot in the East. But it feels kind of like a Western in style, and kind of like a Western mixed with. It's just going to sound really weird, but elements of things like an Ocean's movie, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, that kind of thing. It's really bizarre, and the thing about it is, it's got these weird sort of things where there is sort of action in it, but it's not really action. It's just people will be talking, doing something, and all of a sudden someone will get shot, and then they'll go back to talking, and people will be sort of, there's a sequence in it where people are shooting at rifles at people, which is where it sort of feels like a Western thing, and then it'll just stop and everyone will stand around talking. It's one of these really weird things where it feels a really mismatched film. The problem is, as I said, it runs for 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I really struggled to follow it and keep up with it. And by the end of it, I literally was sitting there with like a perplexed look on my face. So it's one I don't think it's even got that complex a plot. I just think it's unfortunately misdirected. There's this weird thing about Chow Yun-fat's character who has a double to protect him, so he's got like a double so that if anyone tries to kill him, they'll kill the double instead. And it feels like there's too much in it. There's too many things being tried to be done, and then stretched out, and the time, and it's just, for me, didn't work. I found it really difficult to follow. It got lots of praise from when it's released in China. It was really successful and had sort of nominations to winning awards and such. But for me, I just struggled with it, didn't get into it, and just couldn't follow it.
It sounds like a really difficult movie.
It really,
it sounded like you had more struggle describing that than I had trying to describe Detention.
It's because it's almost like, you know, it's like how George Lucas mixes up politics with action in a film. It's really just weirdly mismatched in that way. It's not a big science fiction thing or anything. It's 1920s China, but it's it's like it wants to be two different films, and this sequence is, like I said, people are sitting around talking, sitting at a table, talking amongst themselves, and people are dying around them. And it's just like, oh yeah, there's another one dead. And it just carries on, and it's almost like it's trying to be funny, but it's not.
Right, we've better quickly get through the last couple of films because we've got 10 minutes left. Outpost 2, or Outpost Black Sun, is the sequel to Outpost, which came out in 2010. It's directed by Steve Barker, no relation to Clive Barker. I checked, I thought he might have a relation. Nope. This one, it centres around... so she's sort of like a journalist, but she's more of a person who tries to hunt down people who have involvements with Nazis. She teams up with this other guy who, again, he seems to be interested in this artifact, which, if you've seen the first film is about this huge massive machine that can cause an electromagnetic pulse, which brings sort of like people back from the dead and use a zombie army for the Germans. That's what they originally used it for. This guy Helena, who is this journalist who teams up with, he wants this piece that's inside of this machine. They end off going towards this bunker where the first film is set up. They stop off at this abandoned house. They think it's abandoned. There's a German zombie at this house. They get saved by this NATO team. This NATO team is also heading to this bunker because this bunker holds this piece of machinery which can use to stop this army. But this piece of machinery can also bring them back from the dead. And it can obviously, it's very valuable on the market. It can fetch more than $60 million on the market itself. The film itself is, as a sequel to a small British film, it's not too bad. It's just been shown at this year's Fright Fest. It's gone straight direct to DVD. The first one actually had a theatrical release, and it's not too bad. It has problems in the fact that it feels a bit saggy at points, but once it gets in the last 30-35 minutes of the film itself, it's on for an hour and 45 minutes. It picks itself up, and they do make stupid decisions, but there is enough gore in the film to keep zombie fans really interested in it. The storyline plods along pretty, obviously predictable. The Marine guys, you'll probably want to shove a sock in their mouth. There is specifically a Scottish guy who's stereotypically Scottish. The biggest problem I had, though, is it's trying to be like Neil Marshall's Dog Soldiers, but it just feels slightly, because Dog Soldiers is such a really good film, and this is trying to be like Dog Soldiers with zombies. It's a good film, and if you like the first one, you'll really like this one.
Truth or Dare, which is directed by Robert Heath, is a story starting off with a group of teenagers who are all having a party. A group of them all from school are sort of there and meeting up. One of them, who is a sort of a socially awkward guy named Felix, is sort of taunted, and sort of things don't quite go well for him. End of night, it ends up with him sort of being challenged and hit by one of the other guys, and he sort of runs out of the party. Things don't quite work out, and it then goes on from there to cut to a year later, where 5 friends from the party have all had invites to a birthday party for Felix. He then they all gone to get to this cabin, which is sort of not far from sort of a middle of nowhere almost kind of thing, where it's a cabin out almost in the woods. They get in there where they meet then Justin, who is Felix's older brother. Tells them that the party's actually been cancelled because Felix is stuck abroad in another country and he missed his flight back. But because they're all there, he didn't get out notice to everyone telling them that the party's cancelled. There's still plenty of booze there, so why don't they all stay and just have some fun for the night and just have a small party between them all? Here's a clip.
I choose truth. Felix isn't in Chile.
So, where is he?
Well, what happened was that he hung himself.
What?
He hung himself. Right here, from that crossbeam there.
This is a joke, mate.
No joke, mate. It's what happened. I'm in Afghanistan, stewing in sweat and fear and blood. And when I get home, my kid brother is found swinging from the rafters. The groundsman cut him down. True story.
But this is terrible.
It's been hushed up, naturally. 16 generations of French Catholics. Suicide's about as shameful as it gets.
So why are we here?
I need to get to the bottom of it. Family honour's at stake. I need to know what happened.
So from there, things go from bad to worse. One of them is shot in the leg. The group are then all tied up and forced to play games where they play truth or dare to find out who actually sent a postcard to Felix that caused him to then commit suicide. It's a really surprising film. I enjoyed this a lot more than I was expecting to. It's really well directed. It's kind of well written, but a little cliched. There are twists in it which I didn't see coming, and I'm amazed at that because it's the kind of thing that I would expect to, but didn't. There's really good performances in it, and just overall, I'm surprised how much I enjoy this. It's a small film, but it feels it's up there with some films that cost maybe 10 times as much, and is just as enjoyable and decent a hour and a half film. I mean, I can't go into it any more than that because we just really don't have time. But it is worth checking out if you like a good thriller with sort of horror aspects of it. It's a really worth checking out film.
Yeah, it's a £2 million budget film, and I agree, it's a pretty decent little film. Quickly, just DVD alternative this week is Jarhead, directed by Sam Mendes. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it and Jamie Foxx. It is based on a true story released back in something like 1993. The book was. It's based on Gyllenhaal's character Anthony Swarford, who's fighting in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and it's just about the lives of the soldiers and how war affects them and how they build up to try and go into war. There are some visually stunning scenes in this movie, specifically in the oil fields where you see a horse, the only thing there covered in oil. It's just a fantastic scene. I love this film. The film is a proper blokes movie, but if you've got your girlfriend or wife or anybody like that around you, they'll really enjoy it as well because the acting is fantastic, the directing is really well done, the cinematography is like I said, the shots sometimes is just absolutely fantastic, considering that there's also a scene where you see some burnt out cars and the way the camera is shot. It is done really, really well, and I really, really love this film. If you haven't seen it, please go out and buy a copy of it because you'll really enjoy it, and it constantly gets shown on TV anyway, so you don't have an excuse not to see it.
Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. If you've been listening live, that's great. If you've been listening on the catch-up, then feel free to join us again. This next week, we'll be back again at a normal time of 7:30 on Monday night. Just before we finish, movie of the week?
Oh, God. A lot of films for me, Detention, because it's such off the wall.
I think I'm going to say, or I'm going to cheat and say two. I'm going to say Truth or Dare if you're into horror and thriller, or if you're into a romance, then The Lucky One. But those are my two sort of suggestions. I'm going to cheat, I think, yeah. Until next week, though, if you are interested in checking our site, it's mondaymovieshow.co.uk. We're on Twitter. I'm at AHDVD, Stuart's at Cryptic Tadpole, and there's at Monday Movie Show as well. We are also on Facebook, on iTunes, where we welcome any comments and star ratings if you'd be willing to give us them. And we're also on YouTube as well. Also, feel free to check out Podgods, which is podgodsnetwork.com. We're now part of them. And also Following the Nerd, which is a good friend of ours, which is just followingthenerd.com. We will also be on the show, or Stuart will be on there this Thursday night. So if you want to listen to them, they're on live at 9 o'clock on their websites. Until next Monday at 7:30, I've been Andrew.
And I've been Stuart.
Bye-bye.
Bye.